Good day, everybody. My name is Brad Steele. I'm the Senior Director of Unified Communications for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And in this particular instance, I am a past president of NASTD. NASTD is the National Association of State Technology Directors, and it is made up of technology professionals serving state government. It's a member-driven organization whose purpose is to advance and promote the effective use of information technology and services to improve the operation of state government. When I was the president a few years back, I was reading through the Constitution, and one particular article within the Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, under the purpose and goal, caught my eye. The goal lists that we should engage in programs for the training, education, and development of technology professionals from all areas of state government. So I saw that and I really thought that we do a lot of networking and we do a lot of peripheral education along specific companies and their offerings or what states have been doing, but we don't really get into the nuts and bolts of technology and the nuts and bolts of educating people around specific topics and things that are either new to the environment or that are kind of spoken about in keywords. We don't get into a lot of the nuts and bolts, as I said, of what the technology actually is and what it is, how it can benefit states. So with that in mind, I put together a series of what I call IT 101 sessions, where I get with the corporate community and I have subject matter experts come in and answer 10 basic standard questions that I've put together, and that will hopefully help all of us understand the topic at hand a little bit better. So again, with that in mind, if you haven't seen the existing videos, you can access them through the NASTD website, nastd.org, or you can go to our YouTube channel where you can see all of the videos that we've done in the past. So the topic this week is for the consumption model of IT resources. And for this, we have brought in our subject matter expert, Paige Scott from Lenovo. So welcome, Paige.
Thank you, Brad. Pleasure to be here.
So, and I love Paige's bio, by the way. I enjoyed reading it because the first line in her bio is she's giving hope to businesses and budgets. It's what Paige loves to do. And I think that's a great way to start a bio, doing something you love and helping people out. And people always need hope. So from the data center to the mobile device in your pocket, Paige has extensive experience in how to design and validate solutions that will meet the requirement of clients' business, technical, financial, and operational demands, as well as how to ensure the process is followed so that the solution is properly implemented and maintained. Paige currently serves her clients as a DAAS, Senior Solutions Pursuit Executive for Lenovo Worldwide, helping some of the target clients that they have. When not with clients, Paige enjoys her empty nest in Lexington, South Carolina with her husband, and I'm very jealous of that. Having my 2 adult sons come back home for the pandemic. And she absolutely enjoys boating, relaxing in the mountains, and time with family and friends. Paige's approach in life is simple yet meaningful. Don't fight and laissez les bon temps rouler. Let the good times roll. So again, welcome.
Thank you.
So consumption model of IT resources, and I'm sorry, every time I think of this, all I can think of is an all-you-can-eat buffet. Because consumption is consumption. So with IT in mind and with what we're talking about today, what is the consumption model and how does it differ from previous models?
Sure. So, and thanks for having me. This is a fun topic. So consumption model, if you think of IT in general, and you think about everything it takes in your IT infrastructure to support the entity, who you serve, your customers, the business, all of that stuff. You have such large components of infrastructure, real estate, software, services, management. I mean, you name it, from A to Z for life cycle, from the data center all the way to the end user devices. And the reality of that is that as the last couple of decades have progressed, it's become more and more complex. And our resources that are responsible for that have had more and more added to their plate. And unless you're a superhero with magical powers, there are going to be certain components that just don't get the priority that they deserve, or there's IT projects that need to happen that can't, because you're so limited either on the resources, the financials, or the actual real estate to be able to do what you need to do. So historically, folks have just had to budget, spend a big upfront capital expenditure, and buy what they can to get to the next step while maintaining the current. In the consumption model, it's almost like the magical umbrella for finances. It's a procurement model that all of a sudden makes what you need to attain attainable by putting things in a predictable monthly, quarterly, annual payment. And it's going to release a lot of the burden that the IT team has historically done today.
Okay. So with that in mind, how would states utilize the consumption model?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of great conversations with our states, county, cities, and corporate. And the reality of it is there's not much difference when it comes to IT responsibility and challenges between the corporate world and our state government agencies. The reality of it is that you, as an IT leader, you have to create an environment that is safe and secure to protect, and then additional, not just the individuals, but the data, and then have it available anywhere at any time. So when you have to have those projects completed within a certain budget, what's happening is that this type of consumption model will all of a sudden make that a reality. So states are looking right now at their budget, and they've done this a lot in the data center side of the house with software as a service, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and we're seeing it trickle into the end user devices now with device as a service. That's that DAAS component. And so they are looking at how can they construct their budget today so that going forward they can really adopt this type of model.
Okay. And so why do you think that customers are moving in that direction at this time?
So, a couple of years ago, this was just one of those conversation pieces. This was just a nice to know. One day we'll think about it. But given the abrupt changes we had with all of a sudden IT leaders that are responsible for infrastructure working away from the infrastructure, away from the data center, and all of a sudden having employees that are working but working from their home and they can't necessarily go into an office for support, that hybrid workspace and the repercussions as a trickle effect of supply chain challenges that everyone has faced with, that's been the big change now, that all of a sudden from just we don't have these many problems, now we've fast forward and accelerate into an arena to where these are everyday challenges we're faced down with. So what used to be the exception to the rule of what we had to deal with as IT leaders has now become more of the norm, and there's been a big flip. And so that is why this is now such a hot topic and getting a lot of conversation and review at this point.
Yeah, and that really rings true. I know within the Commonwealth, we're having those exact issues.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are some of the challenges that we might face if we move towards this model?
So there's a few things. Some of it's just cultural. There's this fear of, if I move to a consumption base, I am replacing my resources. Everything's going to be automated. And in 99% of the cases of the infrastructure and the data centers and the staffing that I work with, it's not true in the sense that, because as an individual, as an IT leader, you have multiple roles, multiple hats, and you never get to the end of the day where you say, done, checklist is complete. There's always more on the table. So this type of model, getting conceptually over the fact that, I'm not replacing resources. Instead, I'm enabling them. I'm empowering them. I'm giving them more time in the place that they're really skilled and purposeful for the organization. The other part is that, this program, it gives back a lot more than than you realize. I speak to IT leaders that have implemented something like this, and the word control. Now, from our organization, from a marketing standpoint, I wish we would have thought about this, but the feedback I get from is just control. So if you could imagine all of a sudden being able to say, I really know where my assets are. I really know how much data I have. I really know what it's going to cost me if we increase or move forward or adopt a program where we put more organizations under one umbrella for support. And that is what I'm seeing is a huge value to this overall program in general.
Okay. So, the next standard question that I've been asking is, what does it supplement or replace within our organization?
Yeah, so if you think about what it takes to get infrastructure into the organization, it is almost like, are we archaic still? I mean, if you think about it, the process. So if I'm an IT leader, and the beautiful thing is with state entities, there's contracts in place that makes this far easier. But there's still a huge amount of time that the procurement IT organization has to go through with reviewing, requesting, back and forth. The time it takes sometimes internally to make a decision. Those quotes expire, you go back, you negotiate. It's quite a burden, right? This particular model, because it's a contract, it's a services basically contract between you and the appropriate contractual holder, it takes all of that away. So the fact that you have upfront a procurement model with a catalog and just a lot of maturity to the program, that is one of the key benefits I've heard from the operational side of this. So it takes away a lot of that back and forth. The other thing is, I don't know if your listeners have faced this a lot or not, but I hear quite often that IT organizations sometimes get a little surprise that the organization needs devices or they need a certain amount of additional storage space or whatever. Because this incorporates, in many cases, a lot of forecasting and monthly and quarterly meetings, it brings an elevated level of understanding for the IT organization and the rest of the customers internally that they serve.
Excellent. Yeah, and when you were saying the first part of that, all I can think of is someone once said to me, our procurement process is so slow that by the time we buy anything, it's obsolete.
It happens. It happens.
Sounds like this kind of eliminates that possibility.
Mm-hmm.
So again, another one of the standard questions that I've been asking, and I need you to kind of help me with how this relates here. But is this designed to be cloud-based or premise-based, or is it both? And how does that relate here?
Yeah, so let's talk about again, the consumption model. It's really a way to procure, a different way to procure than what you historically have been doing. So when you think about and these models, just so you know, and kind of go back to that previous procurement conversation that we just had, if you think about, a lot of times organizations have to piecemeal solutions together. I work with a large software company. I work with a certain OEM. I work with another storage company. I work with another security company. I work with this software company, all these different things. And this model, it's really intended to put the burden on the person, on the company that has the contract for the consumption model. So that company goes back and pulls in all of their partners to make a holistic solution to the state, right? So when you think about how does that relate with cloud-based, there are a lot of clients that just from, we talked about procurement, but let's go on the other side of the house. Let's say once you have procured and now you're paying. The fact that you can take all these individual cloud billings, if you will, and put that under one contract, that's helpful. Now, going from a design standpoint, we have clients all over the board. Some are in the cloud, some are public, some are private, some are hybrid, right? A lot of cloud strategy has been dictated, right or wrong, based off of budget. What can we do? And it's really painful for some of our clients that have been pushed into cloud unplanned, because that could be costly, right? So what this allows our clients to do is say, okay, if I can take the financial burden out of the equation and really look at my cloud strategy and whoever's working with the states, they will bring in the right resources to help that, to review where you need to go, and what needs to happen. It really takes the pressure off of the IT leadership to say, okay, let me really look at this and say, where am I now? What are the fires? What do I have to address? And then let me look out 3 to 5 years, and let's put a plan in place that works. And so your cloud strategy that clients are using today may be a result of things that aren't necessarily the business drivers, the support drivers. It may be more of a financial driver, and this removes that so you can have the right solution. So the answer is, in this model, it's hybrid. It can be all cloud. It could be zero cloud. The reality of it is, though, it allows the organizations to make the right decisions for them, and it supports financially the right decision for those agencies.
Excellent. So I'm going to throw a little curveball in here.
Yeah.
With regard to what you were saying, when the pandemic kicked off, a lot of people really moved a lot of stuff to the cloud just because it gave them the ability to scale, gave them the ability to kind of be agile. And now they're kind of buyer's remorse, or getting that bill back, at the end of the, you take the credit card out for 24 months, no interest, and now all of a sudden it's time to start paying. Is there a way to kind of go back and herd the cats, so to speak, and get that back under control?
Yeah, so you just validated that one comment I said, is that if you go to the cloud unexpected, it could be painful, right? So there are programs, and so yes, you can fix the problem, but if you do it in a traditional way, is it affordable? Does the budget support it? So for instance, in a non-consumption model, you would have to internally get approval to do a large upfront migration project, statement of work project, and you would have to pay for resources for so many days, so many weeks, so many months to get that data back, analyze it, and it's a large upfront operational expense. In the consumption model, the exact same project can be done, but basically, and I know people hate when I use this term, but it's so simple to me. Basically, instead of having any upfront large fees, when you just get a monthly payment, and that expenditure is just basically peanut butter spread over the term of the contract. So you can see how in this consumption model, it becomes very attractive, because any IT projects that require large upfront man hours or assistance, there's no longer that man-hour assistant fee. It's just peanut butter spread throughout the agreement. The other thing that's interesting in consumption model, and this is important for state agencies because we see it all the time, the way the budgets are, sometimes it's hey, I got to use this budget, right? And you have devices, and they're sitting there, and sometimes they're not properly deployed. But you know what? That warranty is clicking away, click, 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 click. In the consumption model, when you agree to a certain term of services and support, it's only at the time you turn that device on and start utilizing it. So in the device as a service world, for instance, because we're doing forecast, I may have devices sitting somewhere in a warehouse for 60 days, completely ready to go, and the state's not paying a dime yet. It's just when they get it and subscribe to it and start using it.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the changes that have happened? I've been hearing about this for a while. So what are some of the changes that have happened recently, and how has it evolved?
So the main change is, I think, companies like the one I represent, and I've worked for a couple other larger ones, we've all realized that in order for us to really be productive for our clients, we as organizations have to make sure we have programs in place to complement this. I mean, Brad, think about our personal lives. There's so many things we do as subscription, which this is another word for consumption, right? There's so many things we do because we realize in our personal lives that it makes sense for me to pay for a service, a certain set fee. I get the exact deliverable that I expect, and in more times than not, in a much more effective and easy, user-friendly way. And that's why I pay my monthly subscription to Netflix, right? I no longer have to go and see, and it keeps great track of what the last thing I watched, the whole 9 yards. So if you kind of apply that into this world, again, I hate to kind of hound on the changes that we've went back through for the last 2 years, but it's really what's kind of rattled the cage, if you will, to make us wake up and say, this is no longer just it's a nice procurement model. There's a necessity because I have this couple of huge problems on my hand, and the only way I can get there and save credibility internally and to make sure I can look in the mirror and say I'm doing the right thing is to definitely investigate this model. And I'll say this, Brad, this model is not for everyone right now. It's definitely not, because you need to have, not everyone needs all the services and the bells and this and that. But I will say, and I would encourage everyone, at least educate, look into it and understand what it is, because whether in your current role or future role, this will come up.
Okay. So when we start looking at, moving forward, how long to get this in place, and is it an all or nothing, or is it, something that can be done in pieces and parts?
So definitely can be done in pieces and parts. And we have clients from dipping their toe to jumping full in. And I will tell you, there, even if you do it just a little bit, right? Because conceptually, it's important for our clients to understand what this will mean from an IT, operational, business, and procurement standpoint, and security. It does require a lot of conversations. And that's the biggest challenge, quite frankly, because we're all trapped and having a hard time with time management, right? Because there's so much we're being asked to do. So it's almost like I need this because I don't have the time, but I don't have the time to really investigate and move forward. So that's a big challenge. But it usually takes 3 to 6 months of conversation with different parts of the organization to make sure we get it right. We do like to talk to, and I encourage any IT leader to definitely pull in the financial leadership of the organization early on, so that way you're in tune and in step with this. But it takes 3 to 6 months traditionally to get through it, because there's also workshops most organizations will walk through and need to understand, how do you do it today? What investments have you made, so we can be good stewards of that and not, make sure we take advantage of everything you've already invested in. Then what do you want to look like? And then what does utopia look like? And then we start massaging it and to get to a budget that works for our clients. And then once you actually sign the line contractually, depending if you have managed services involved in it, it's typically another 3 to 6 months of transition period, making sure that our systems interlock, that the organizations we serve have full line of sight and control of everything they had before, but they get to just look at it and see the results versus actually having to make the results happen.
Okay. So getting ready to start that first 3 to 6 month period, what do I need to know? What do I need to put together? What do I have to gather before I
Yes. So the main thing is it's great to have, we usually work with the IT organization to say, hey, what are you really troubled with? What's not allowing you to be successful? A lot of times we sign an NDA because that's some quality information that is shared back and forth. And then once we do that, we talk, if the IT leadership sees, wow, there is possibility, I understand this program a little bit more, we can move forward. We highly encourage to pull in operational leaders, financial leaders, some of the business leaders that the IT organization supports to get their buy-in and their perspective. And then we work holistically on what makes sense. We also, there's some things out there that's pushing this conversation. So it may be struggling with real estate space. It may be high electricity bills. It may be demand of compliance for data retention. It may be what we call zero touch deployment, so that, our employees are getting devices and they're ready to click on just as quick as when you and I get a new cell phone, right? Supply chain challenge. It's really funny that each organization has their own reason for going into a model like this, but we do bring up the what ifs, and it's amazing because at the end of the time, they're like, wow, this is a pretty good contingency plan that we've built and improved upon that we didn't have before, because it answers the questions of lots of challenges that are out there.
Okay. All right. The next two questions are probably the most important to states, and you kind of touched on it earlier. So the first one, what's the cost model? How do we pay for this, and what's it going to cost us?
$1 million a month. No, I'm joking. So, so here's the reality. This is why the financial team's so important to get to the part of it. So state agencies, annual budget, we got to be careful what you sign up contractually to, the whole 9 yards. And so the beauty of the consumption contracts, it's a contract. So just as you negotiate RFPs with certain net terms, the whole 9 yards, we can get, and I say we, I mean the industry when I say we, can get extremely creative on how to meet the demands. So a lot of times in state agencies, even though like in corporate America, they may say, I want to pay monthly a set fee. Great. A lot of times, because state agencies are annual budgets, they say, I want to do annual or quarterly. And I need some language in there that gives me a way out if I don't get that same budget, right, the following year. The reality of it is that most state agencies have a good idea, a conservative idea of what they need to just keep the lights on, that kind of operational IT budget. And we a lot of times encourage our IT organizations and financial organizations to say, let's work with that set of funds. And then if ever you want to add on via change request or something within your contract, we can do it then. But that is something that is key. That's why we like to get with our financial teams first, so we can understand contractually how that works. The other thing is in the consumption model, that's the reason why it's a little bit different than leasing, right? In the consumption model, you're basically renting, subscribing. You don't want the equipment at the end of the term, right? And so that's a big part of the conversation as well. And a lot of state agencies, for sustainability purposes and security, they like the fact that they don't have to be responsible for that component of it. But you can pay monthly, and depending on your solution, I've seen where we have done on a monthly in the teens, so much per month, all the way to $80 per month per device, right? And in the data center, that will really range, but you would never be surprised on your bill because you see reports on the exact consumption that you're doing.
Excellent. And the next question, and I know this is, foremost that people are concerned with these days, is what are the security concerns?
Yeah, so not a light question and a very relevant question, and we take security extremely seriously, as I know several of the organizations that serve the states do. Again, this program is a procurement model that allows organizations to take a step back and say, what do I need to do? Not something that is limited from a budget standpoint, but what do I really need to do? And then take that and apply it and put that in that peanut butter spread kind of mode, right? And get that accomplished. So in many cases, we can actually introduce additional security measures that we don't like to talk about, that we know should be there, but it's not. We can introduce that and make it affordable for the state agencies. So does not introduce any security concerns, but actually can complement and help make some of those challenges that are in the CISO's bucket list right now a reality. Excellent. Yeah.
All right. And I told you this would be relatively painless, but we're down to our final question that I like to ask. What else do we need to know? What did I forget to ask you?
So I think the big thing is don't be afraid to explore this conversation. This is I hate to use the word consultative, but it's really kind of a fun, roll up your sleeves. Let's really see what's happening today. What are other folks doing? How are they accomplishing this? How has it impacted them? This is a topic that you can really dive in, and throughout the journey of the conversation, most organizations will learn a ton more about their internal clients that they serve and how things are being done, and how folks actually just feel from a cultural standpoint, because we put all the players in the room. And it's kind of like a journey, but again, it's a 3 to 6 month journey. And I just as we have seen the adoption of subscription in our personal lives, whether it be Netflix, food service, you name it, right? This is happening in the IT world, and this is nothing new. And I share folks this vision all the time. If I like to do puzzles, you said I like to, go in the mountains. Well, there's not much to do in the mountains, so a lot of times I do a puzzle. It's usually kind of raining in the North Carolina mountains here, but I go ahead and do a puzzle, and the first thing I do is I do the border, right? And I like those four corner pieces. And in the IT world, in the consumption model, if I could leave your viewers with this, is that those four corner pieces in the consumption model is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, and device as a service. And if, and each of those are their own conversation, right? Because they have their own sets of challenges and requirements. But I think it would be worthwhile of all the viewers and listeners to take time and really look at what does that mean for their organizations or future organizations they may be a part of as they move forward and serve.
Excellent. Well, we've come to the end, so thank you very much again. I know that I've learned a lot. I say this every week. I hope that the viewers to the channel here are getting as much out of these conversations as I am. It was definitely a pleasure talking to you. I do have to go have a peanut butter sandwich for lunch now, so again, folks, if you're finding these sessions interesting and you have an idea for a future session, please reach out to me, brad.steele@mass.gov. I want to thank Patty Hildreth from Lenovo for helping coordinate this and put it together. And a very special thank you to Paige Scott, our subject matter expert this week. And again, Paige is the DAS Senior Solutions Pursuit Executive for Lenovo. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you to all your listeners and viewers. Appreciate the time.